Welcome back to the show. Now, this is an item that may absolutely fascinate you. You know about your crowning glory, your hair, of course. You know about health tourism, travelling abroad maybe for a bit of dentistry, something of that ilk. But what about going abroad for a hair transplant? Why would you do such a thing? You may say, why would you have a hair transplant in the first place? Well, I've got a guest who has done precisely that, and he'll tell us all about it. His name is Matt Vjestica, and it's great to have you here, Matt. You've got a tremendous barnet. Your barnet there is resplendent. This is a man with a great deal of hair, but it wasn't always thus, and I think we may even have a picture of you before rather than after, so we can see you. Oh, here we are. So you're thinning a bit sort of around the widow's peak either side. And what else?
Down the middle as well, so kind of down the middle of my hair, and kind of at the sides it was very, very thin.
And I hope you won't think me rude if I ask how old you are.
29.
29. And when did it start thinning?
It was around 23 years old. I remember, like, a friend pointed out to me, oh, you've got, like, a thinning part on your top of my head. And I was like, oh. And I've always had quite long hair, so I managed to style it. Yeah. But then as I got older, especially during COVID, I kind of let my hair grow out. And then when I got it cut, I was like, oh. It was very, you could tell the kind of thinning areas, and it's a bit like, obviously you get conscious about that type of thing, so.
Okay, well I won't use words like slap head, because that wouldn't become me, that would be most undignified, so I would never say that on the radio or on television, but lots of people listening and watching will just think, all right, you know, loads of men have thinning hair, loads of men lose their hair. Some women think that balders are really sexy. You know, you could have just given it a good old shave and you could have lived with it. Why did you think of doing something pricey and possibly risky, which is to have a hair transplant at all? Yeah,
it's definitely very risky. I took a lot of, maybe almost like up to a year doing research, talking to different clinics. But it's something where I wasn't ready to go bald quite yet. And when I knew there was something I could do about it, I was like, I'd rather take that avenue first, and it's paid off massively.
It has. I mean, it's absolutely excellent, and you can't see little dots, and it doesn't look spriggy and weird. And I'd have to tell you the truth, lovely listener and vibrant viewer, if I could see them, I wouldn't just be being polite. In real life I would, but at work I wouldn't. At work I would always have to do the journalistic thing and tell you the truth of what I can see. It looks absolutely excellent. It really does. It's a lovely quiffy profusion and abundance of hair, looking great. So tell me now why you didn't just decide to go to one of the clinics in this country offering a hair transplant.
I think the expense over here is a lot more. You know, where I was going to places and getting quoted upwards of £6,000, £7,000, and sometimes when I'd say that's way out of my budget, they'd just knock. Maybe they were like, oh, we'll do it for like £2,000 less, and I thought, you've just done that in you know.
It felt a bit sort of market trader.
And it was very salesy, and they didn't really take the time to care, whereas actually the EsteNove, the clinic I went with in Turkey, I was speaking to the guy for maybe 8 months, backwards and forwards over WhatsApp.
What were you saying?
Lots of questions. Every time I would go to a place in London and have a consultation, I'd learn a new piece of information, and I would put that question to them, and I would say, hey, I've just learned about this, what's your thoughts? And then they would give me good information back, and they were really responsive, which is something that kind of eased my mind a lot, doing that, because it's very, you know, go to a different country and get your hair done, it could go all terribly wrong, and then you're out there.
Absolutely, and certainly I'm familiar with people. I mean, we know, for example, Elton John, who's had all the money in the world, and his hair transplants were absolutely doomed and failures. None of them worked. I think he wears a syrup now or a hat because he could never really get it together. So you know, it's a risky thing, and they don't always work, and it's a really big deal to do it. I just want to ask you one more sort of health tourism type question, which I think people might want to know, which is, you know, were you not worried that, for example, you may go and have it in Turkey, and then something might go wrong when you went home, like you may have an infection or something, and you'd be at home in England, and the doctors and surgeons would be in Turkey, and you wouldn't have proper follow-up care?
That was obviously something that I'd take into consideration, but they do like an aftercare, so you do get spoken to, and they are with you at any time you've got a question. They're always there to answer the question, but it's actually a lot more straightforward than most people would think. I was in and out there. You know, I think I flew over on the Sunday, had it done on the Monday, flew back Tuesday, and it was super quick.
In pain?
It wasn't pain, it was just uncomfortable.
Wearing a hat?
Not wearing a hat, no. You're kind of open,
so you've got all your scars and everything on the plane that everybody can see you?
So I got onto the plane, and there's about 5 or 6 other guys all there. You're at the airport, and you see all the bunch of guys. You've got like the cushions around your neck, and you've all got the bandages on. It's quite funny. You know, people give you a look, and everyone kind of nod at each other.
How long does it take to know if it's worked?
So mine was actually very quick. I was very fortunate, actually. Within 4 months, I actually had like quite a full head of hair again, and I could style it, and it looked quite good. A year is what they recommend. Up to a year is when you'll see the full effects. But like I said, for me, about the 4-month mark is when it really grew in. And
do you have to sort of treat it delicately, or can the hairdresser or barber do whatever they want?
It's almost like exactly the same as it was before. The first few weeks you have to be quite gentle. You know, that's really it. Just be gentle with it in the first few weeks, and after that it's just like
okay. And question, I hope you won't think too personal or intrusive. Where is the hair harvested from? Because it's a transplant of hair from where to where?
So it's all from the back of the head here.
I thought you were going to say your intimate places, and I'm going to stop blushing and have to leave the studio. No, I thought you were going to say it's my pubic hair. Where do you think it comes from, Vanessa? But you're not.
no, it's all from the back of the hair. So they take it all from here, and they just pot it into here. So you know when you see a lot of older men that have just the ring of head around here and all bald on the top, these hairs don't get affected from what causes hair loss. So then they just extract it from here and put it into kind of the areas that are thinning.
Hello from Istanbul, Turkey. How are you?
Oh, good to have you on the show. Got to say that Matt has got the most tremendously great hair. In fact, because I'm professional and probably old enough to be his grandmother, I have restrained myself from running my fingers through it, but I do want to. It's absolutely phenomenally good hair. And I don't have to say that. I don't work for you or the clinic. I can say whatever I want.
Yeah, Matt. Hello, Matt. By the way, happy to see you. So actually, when we see this kind of progress, we are getting also so happy, and it's giving us motivation to move forward. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. So tell me why we are very nervous in this country about hair transplants. We hear very many stories of how they don't work, they go terribly wrong, and either there's no real hair there to find, or it looks like little sprouts sticking up like sort of shoots of daffodils in a flower bed, you know, and a horrible transplant is dreadful.
To be honest, actually, we see from the people, they have some concerns about the safety of the health tourism. So I understand their concerns, actually, but we are proudly, actually, 100% safety record with our, doctors who is only operating, hair transplant for many years. And it's increasing the success rate. And all the, medical teams are being chosen carefully, and the clinic is registered and regulated by the Turkish Health Ministry, so everything is under control. But of course there are some good and bad clinics also in Turkey, like everywhere, like in UK. And so I see some criticisms from private expensive UK clinics. Of course they want to protect their own business, and they just want to justify their high prices, but you can see this kind of problems everywhere in the world. On the other hand, even in Turkey there are some clinics not registered and not certified, and this kind of stories coming from this kind of clinics. But we are happy about our service, and we are providing one-to-one service to our old patients.
And let me just ask you about aftercare, because operations sometimes go wrong. There can be infections, a patient can react badly to something. And Matt said he got on the plane the next day and came home. Obviously, you're not here, you're in Turkey. What happens if something goes wrong and you and your team are not there to tend to your patients who've flown in from the UK?
Yeah, to be honest, we are providing one-on-one aftercare service to our patients after the procedure. The recovery is taking around like 2 weeks after the procedure, but we are giving them aftercare service from beginning of the operation until the 2 years after the operation, and we are getting always next to them, and we are checking their progress in a certain period. So we don't see any infection because we are checking everything next day after the operation. But if we see any problem, we give them all the instructions and we check all the steps of the operation. So care service is one of our strong points in our clinic. Some clinics cannot give so importance to that, but it is one of our strongest points,
Doctor, thank you very much indeed for joining us. And Matt, it was obviously well worth it for you. You look like a very satisfied customer indeed.
Yes.
Yes. And you don't think that you should have been thinking about something else and not your hair? Poetry, literature, politics, religion, something else? Not really. Matt, thank you very much indeed. Lovely listener, vibrant viewer. We will be back with you in just a few minutes' time. Stick with me, baby, because you don't know what's coming up next.